1, 2, 3, 4.
In this podcast, you will be here. Knights of Vader, Knights of Vader includes, but is not led to talk of Star Wars, not ray guns. We can't truly prepare for the jump that follows this song, but hey, we gave it a try. So here's the Knights of Vader. Crystal Fox reports they are divided. Prequel, sequel, and love they divided. I know that we are just musicians tired, and their time is up. So here's the Knights of Vader.
Impressive. Most impressive.
A big thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. It is August 24th, 2023. My name is Zack Weber, and joining me today is the Portius with the Mortius with the best Shock T maquette, maybe? Statue?
That's a premium format from Sideshow from the before time. But yeah,
before the dark times, before the Empire.
Exactly. And never again will you ever see such a wild, hilarious thing. But yeah, happy to be here to discuss a reasonable Star Wars.
A reasonable Star Wars indeed. And we have Grand Admiral Zenger with a Star Killer toy mostly in focus and maybe his forehead as well.
It takes up most of the screen, not the toy, my forehead.
And we have, for I Have Become the Destroyer of Retail, Joe Yazzo.
Hello.
And we have from the, I'm combining both of you, I'm sorry. The Unbelievers Podcast, we have Russ and Rob. We have two for the price of one for Ahsoka.
My tongue.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Zach. It's good to be back. What is up, Joe? What is up? Action figure that looks like Grace Jones from here. And I'll spend the rest of my time talking to you, Shock T. Now, I like how you forced a couple of things that when you put this out, now you have to post that image, Chris. I know you do the Instagram. People are like, oh, what is this Shock T?
Yes, and hello, this is Rob Oakey here. I know Russ is done talking. Just wanted to say hello. How are you guys doing? What's going on, everybody?
Hey,
Chris, you have to take a screenshot of maybe just of your monitor screen. Like you gotta dude, this is perfect. Like it's framed so beautifully. Like we cannot overstate how wonderfully framed a webcam video is. Like it's not by accident. Like there definitely some time and effort went into this. Please don't waste it for us.
And it's very well lit as well.
You're just derailing the whole show. And if I knew that it would cause this much of a disturbance, I wouldn't have put it there. But
it's sucking the air out of the room. I want you to know that there's 6 of us on the call and we're all distracted all at once.
Actually, yeah, so I feel like we're all watching a YouTube show about Star Wars and we get to comment over it, which I'm completely fine with. But it's just a compliment. You're like, it's like a very nerdy Red Bar situation. I like it.
it definitely is the most extravagant Force Unleashed collectible ever made. It's probably true.
Yeah, that was Shock T from her brief period as a dancer.
Yeah, there's no Star Killer premium format. It's almost like they knew this would sell better. Anyways.
Almost. Alrighty, but when we're not ogling Chris's statue of Shock T from The Force Unleashed, a sentence I never thought I'd have to say out loud, we are talking about the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, the latest Disney Plus Star Wars series. And as Chris said, it is indeed a Star Wars. What quality of Star Wars we're going to discuss in the immediate future? I don't know. I definitely want to go last on this, but I just want to kind of go around the room and say, is there a general consensus to this? Is it Kenobi Sci-Fi Channel level, or is it the Rainforest Cafe steak? Gentlemen, I don't know. I want to start with Zenger. Zenger, where does this fall on the spectrum?
So I first want to take a stab at all of your guesses to save everyone the trouble, if that's okay. Chris's opinion on it is, well, I'm very excited for the 3/4 toy that's going to be coming out for this. Zach's opinion is, of course, that it's not the sequel. It's no Force Awakens.
That is heresy, and I take affront to that.
Rise of Skywalker.
There you go. You've hit the money.
Joe's opinion is, well, it's definitely no Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, nothing can top that. And Russ and Rob are wondering why they're here.
What?
Accurate? No, my opinion, what's going on? Like, there's mystery in Star Wars again. Like, who are these people? Why do they have orange lightsabers? Who's that guy in the armor? What do you mean there's another galaxy? I'm excited, and I'm ready for more. And very sad that it was only 2 episodes. Now I have to wait a week.
Yeah, but you got to give them props for putting it out like a few hours early, making that, doing that for once, taking mercy on the people who don't have to wake up the next day and go, do I have to watch this on my phone at work? It's like, no, a nice, reasonable time to catch a premiere. Props, I guess.
So overall for me, thumbs up. I will agree with the, at the moment, Rotten Tomato rating of 91%. That is certified fresh. To just throw out the barometer, Meg 2 The Trench, 29%. So keeping it fresh.
What was that one? The second one?
The Meg. The Meg 2.
Oh.
Zenger's favorite movie of all time.
Got you. That you're comparing it to the Meg 2. Okay.
Well, I need a point of reference.
Okay.
I forgot how much you carry the torch for the Meg franchise, Zenger. That somehow escaped my memory.
People compare Star Wars and the Meg franchise to each other all the time, so this makes perfect sense.
There's always a bigger fish.
Well, here's the thing. You got to remember that these are based on a book series. Not only a book series, but a shared universe book series. So it could create its own MCU. Meg Cinematic Universe. So I'm just saying, I was burdened with knowledge on these existing. Now I must burden everyone else with that knowledge. Annoyingly so, any chance I get.
So it's like the Meg line you have. It's like in football, there's the Dalton line of quarterback, and then, like in this, there's the Meg line for like quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You got to know what to compare it to. Otherwise, what's 91% mean? I mean, what's that compared to right now? Like, what's going on else in the world that we can compare that to?
It's a reasonable bar to set, for sure.
All right. Russ, thoughts on Ahsoka?
All right, so I as someone who didn't follow Rebels, probably as strongly as I could towards the end, I definitely got sucked in the beginning. I knew there was like a little bit of Rebels lore. It's like I know these characters very, very, very well, but I felt like I was at points. I mean, dude, you knew it going in, but it really hit home the Filoni-ness of it when you watch the credits at the end. It's like thought about by Filoni, written by Filoni. Maybe his name was every planet they went to in that Game of Thrones little credit scene at the end there, where they even had Game of Thronesy kind of music. It feels like a live action cartoon, but it got better as it went along, but it moved pretty slow, but I am in. I'll keep it brief.
Thoughts, Rob?
I enjoyed it, honestly. I think it was probably my favorite Star Wars thing that has happened since Luke Skywalker came through the doors at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. Feels like it's been rough to be like a Star Wars viewer. At least in my opinion, from my experience since then, it's been a little bit tough because like my hopes get real high and the trailers always look really good for these things. And then a lot of times, like after the first couple episodes, you don't really feel it. And this felt different in a lot of ways. I enjoyed it. And I think like if you do your homework and you watch Rebels and you watch the Clone Wars and you kind of know what's going on, it helps a lot. But you can also go into this blind and enjoy it. I think in a lot of ways it sets it up, and there's a lot of mysteries that can be intriguing even if you haven't watched Rebels. But I think it was pretty good. Certain little things like I can nitpick is like Rosario Dawson's acting sometimes doesn't really feel like the Ahsoka from the cartoons very much. She doesn't I don't think she makes a single joke or like even is like slightly like snarky, which is sort of like Ahsoka's, her, like, I guess, how could you describe it? That's like her personality. She's a little bit more of like a kid. And like, I guess this is older hardened. She acts more like Anakin than she does Ahsoka, in my opinion, which maybe that's intentionally. But regardless, other than that, I loved it. I thought it was great, man. This show has legs, and I'm not just talking about Sabine Wren.
Ayo.
Whoa. I just want to point out that the job of snark, of course, as always, goes to the lovable sidekick robot.
That's true. Yeah, he's pretty snarky. I liked Hu Yang though. I thought he was a good addition. I like that. That was smart to give her a droid and to we didn't have to get in.
Wait, yeah, I was going to say he's a Rebels guy, right? Hasn't he?
Yeah, he's an addition to live action. I would say we never saw Ahsoka link up with that character. It's just like they've all of a sudden now that's like her sidekick, and I like that we didn't have to learn how that happened. That just is like a thing. I guess if you didn't watch Rebels, then he would be like a complete new addition to.
I think if you didn't watch Clone Wars, he'd be a whole new addition.
Yeah, both of those things. Yeah, for sure.
Joe, what did you think?
I thought that for a Disney Plus show, the first 2 episodes out of the bat, it was pretty good as far as the stuff that you saw. You look at the other stuff, very slow going, very, making the pizza. This one here, you're going up and be like, I'll take a slice and cut it in half, just warm it up for me. But with that being said, Rob does have a point. Like there was no emotion from what she was doing, Rosario Dawson. You didn't find that there was anything. I was half tempted to hear her grunt or something, but it was just a stern look to the camera, and that's it. If they had a little bit more emotion in their performances, I think it would have been really good. As far as the flow of the story, was probably better than Kenobi, extremely better than Book of Boba Fett. Leaps and bounds above the Bad Batch, and I'd say it's better than Mandalorian.
Whoa!
Better than the season 3 of the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Well, that's the bar set low in that regard. All right, Chris, thoughts?
Well, I'll give it like a lukewarm 7.5 out of 10, but it's better, like all the other hot takes we've been hearing. It's better than Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi, but if it wasn't, we'd really be having an identity crisis right now. I think the design wise and sort of in terms of the scope and the feel of it, it doesn't have the aesthetic pitfalls that Kenobi did, where it literally looks like it was made without even fully 3D rendering some of the backgrounds. Some of the CGI in Kenobi was really weird. I don't get that effect here. The Corellian shipyards, for example, they felt big and actually 3D and properly detailed, and you had some good wide dynamic camera movements where you actually saw that they actually properly built these large environments in 3D. So it felt like the scope was there. It reminded me of episode 3 Coruscant, when they crash land the Confederacy ship and all that. Just the scope of the environments they showed, it was cool. The biggest thing for me is I don't mind Rosario Dawson, but I forget the actress's name who plays Sabine. But I've got to I don't know. We can get into it more, but I think there's a real big disconnect there. I don't believe that she doesn't feel like she actually knows these characters. It's almost like I would bet almost any amount of money that she didn't take the role seriously enough to actually watch 4 seasons of a cartoon. So she's not internalizing those relationships. I just, may prove me wrong. I'd love to hear otherwise, but I don't believe that she really understands the interpersonal dynamics of those characters. And I'd feel like Filoni directing is not whipping his actors into shape and emotionally traumatizing them enough to get those performances.
He could take them over his house for a weekend and they could learn these characters. He watches Rebels on a loop, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think she feels more like that character than Ahsoka, than Rosario feels like Ahsoka, though. In my opinion, okay. I think.
But she's already what we saw her go through in Rebels, coming to terms with creating a weapon that kills her own people, for example. And then she's supposed to be about 30 years old by the time of this show, and she's running away from an event held in her honor, a petulant teenager. It's really, you're just putting on your rock music while you run from the police instead of getting a medal at City Hall at 30 years old. Could you just chill?
Was that intentionally supposed to be similar to the beginning of Kenobi with Leia remember they're like, where's Leia? And then she's like running through the forest or whatever. Like wasn't it the same thing that happened in Kenobi where they're like,
Maybe
It's not endearing though. That's all I'm saying.
it wasn't
like,
a good reflection. It was a weird, it wasn't a good one.
Well, maybe Sabine was running away from that ceremony because it would have brought closure to the fact that everyone's accepted that Ezra's gone. And she's not wanting to accept that Ezra's gone.
Yeah, but she was just having fun and running from the cops, though.
Not being at that ceremony is promoting to us, the audience, that she is not accepting that he's gone.
Yes, Zenger. And if a filmmaker had directed it with that intention, they would have cut to her just being at home watching Ezra's hologram rather than joyously running from the police. While the
if a
ceremony was going
filmmaker
on.
had done it, you would have been like, oh, well, I'll take a special combo number 5. Can I get an extra wonton in exchange for the crab rangoon? Actually, I'll just take a full order of crab
I don't know.
It seemed like it was more implied that like she was gonna go to that thing, like she was there, and then she just was like, you know what, this, and she bailed. And then that was like, I think it was just supposed to like be like a symbolic moment of her just like not giving about anything.
Yeah, it's
and like
fair enough, but she doesn't seem like she's 30 years old. Is kind of my underlying point.
Yeah.
Listen, they gave Clancy Brown the opportunity to choose some scenery, and he chewed it away. He jumped on that scenery and chewed at it.
Yeah, I thought we'd have his devil makeup on. I was like, why aren't you? You're the devil man. What are you doing here, Clancy?
Don't get confused, Russ. Don't get too confused.
I didn't realize this until I watched the recap video that Clancy Brown was Ryder Azadi from Rebels. He was the former like governor of the planet pre-imperial occupation. I'm just like,
Pretty well done.
like you gotta give credit where credit is due for continuity.
You know, Filoni, that's the one thing I don't think you can accuse the show of, is that Filoni cares more about this than anything. This is like his baby. He's going to put everything in it. He's going to shove, there's going to be lolcats run around everywhere.
Just one Lothcat. They can't afford more than one.
My theory about why she isn't there is because she knew somehow in like Star Wars social media, she did not want to be pictured with that cartoon Rebels mural that they were debuting that has,
how dare you?
It's just a poster of the cartoon. I've never seen anything like that.
How
in Star
dare
Wars.
you?
So, hey, you might as well play rock music after this because it's like, all right, well, this show's just going to be different.
The other thing is like Ashley Eckstein's watching the show at home and she's like, Clancy Brown, really, Filoni? Like, what the hell? What do I got to do?
Yeah, they picked and choose who they brought back from the animated series.
Oh man,
Poor Ashley Eckstein. She has to watch this all go down. I hope she does something. They got to give her some. And even is she going to have some kind of cameo or something for sure, right?
Tales of the Jedi. She has Tales of the Jedi. That's still going to be her Ahsoka
I mean,
platform.
in the Ahsoka show.
I
bet you she'll be in the same flashback as Anakin doing the voice, but or hologram or whatever it is. But the Dark Jedi are awesome and they're
Sick.
nuanced.
Well, are they Dark Jedi? What are they?
Yeah,
What's going on with
they're
them?
great.
There's no great Jedis, man. You can't. Oh, all right, sorry.
He said they're great, not gray. He said they're great. They are, and they are great. But I don't think that they're. I'm so curious what their deal is too. It's very interesting. The Balin character, super interesting. I love how he like invokes Vader, like just his size and the cloak and everything is like it makes you think of Vader and the way that his style of attack and everything. And Shin is just like, I want to know more about this character. I'm assuming that's his daughter and that he has been raising her like a Jedi. That's what I'm assuming, at least.
And I got to say, as cool as I thought he was, someone did ruin it today. I saw someone commenting they thought he was Space Kenny Rogers. And now I don't think I might not be able to unsee that for a little while. I was like, shit.
He was selling chicken.
Russ, I got good news for you. I'm going to ruin it more real quick. Did anyone catch their last name for either of them?
I know
Skull
they're
Shin Hati, right?
Yeah.
And he's Balin Skull.
Yeah.
Skull, Skoll. And
They're like wolves from like Viking.
They are the
mythology or
wolves
something,
that
right?
chase the sun and the moon. Scody and Hati. They are the Norse wolves that chase the sun and the moon, and once they catch them,
Filoni.
it is a sign that Ragnarok has arrived. So isn't it interesting that once again we have more wolf imagery?
Cowboy Hat Man's living up to his namesake.
Wolf Pack for life. Yeah, that's what he's doing.
So I just see that
Trapper Wolf.
that we just have another wolf analogy in this one. Oh, very, very good, Mr. Filoni.
Not for the wolves.
But do you think there's a little too much importance being placed on Thrawn? Like, you got a Balin skull. Like, how much more awesome is Thrawn? Like, he's the best office manager around. So you don't even understand the power.
Well, who says he's even wanting to do this too? Like, if you're going from the Timothy Zahn books, not the original, the newer ones, he's just kind of he just works for the Empire because it's something to do. I don't see that version of Thrawn being like, oh, I'm going to lead the Empire. He'd kind of be like, yeah, I'm going to go back to my people and, do their crap.
Here's my perspective on that.
Someone else who's read the books.
Well, this is fair, Zenger. Have you read all 3 Thrawn trilogies or just 2/3 of the Thrawn trilogies?
I've read the good one and then banged my head against the other one.
Exactly. I think what they're going to do with Thrawn is that Thrawn's going to be your antagonist momentarily, and then years from now, he's going to be your anti-hero. He's going to be your Loki. They're going to make him, because what's going to happen is that they're going to bring him into all this as, oh God, he's going to he's going to destroy the universe. And then with this whole new universe thing, and before we were recording, we were talking about the Yuuzhan Vong and the Gursk, which is kind of the new equivalent of them from the second and third Thrawn trilogies. I think Thrawn will be positioned as your anti-hero, as your only person who can stop these, oh God, intergalactic invaders. They're going to position him that way. He's too popular of a character not to make him into a hero, as a hero / anti-villain. But he's going to be your Loki of Star Wars.
In the books, but the thing is, we're basing this off of Dave Filoni's craziness, where he's just some unhinged madman. That's smart.
But the thing is that Filoni doesn't know how to write Thrawn. Because, like, again, we've talked about this countless times, is that, like, if you look at the Timothy Zahn novels, not the OG, but the Disney era ones, juxtaposed to Rebels, it's not the same character. They're written completely differently. And that's the problem.
That's it.
I thought Filoni said something about how he talked to Zahn before writing this. And
he does. But I think that's more just a puff piece.
But not the Rebels where he made his appearances.
Well, the Thrawn from Rebels is the stroke my chin, perhaps. It's that. It's not this master tactician, because even at the season 3 finale of Rebels, where he gets kind of beaten by the Bendu and all that, it's like, and Filoni's explanation for that as well, Thrawn doesn't know how to quantify the Force. And it's like, well, that's what he was in the OG Thrawn trilogy, was that he figured out how to quantify the Force. And that's what made him such an imposing villain to the main trio. And it's just, well, that doesn't matter anymore. That's not how my interpretation of Star Wars works. And that's why Rebels Thrawn isn't that interesting.
But we forgot one other. We got, of course, the wolf that chases the sun, the wolf that chases the moon. By the way, fun fact to really dive into it, their names mean, Hade means he who hates or enemy, and Skolni means treachery or mockery. There, you got your Norse mythology lesson for the day. Also, if there's any character named Gary or Freki, those are the wolves of Odin, so keep an eye out, because
Freki? There could be a Freki on the horizon. I want that.
Yeah, Gary and a Freki.
Gary. I don't know if we're going to get any Garys in Star Wars.
God, I hope we get a Gary.
Okay, I'm glad
I want
Rob
Ray
brought
to
that.
fall in love with Gary.
Hold on a sec. We got to bring up Star Wars names for an instant, for a moment. I'm glad we mentioned Gary. I will say, maybe I've been in the dark for the last 3 years, but for the longest time, I thought the Morgan Elsbeth character was the name of the actual actress. It wasn't until watching this a couple of nights ago where I'm just like, wait, we're naming a character Morgan Elsbeth? Like, was the name Jane Simpson already taken in Star Wars lore? Like, are we just naming characters arbitrary names?
It's not the first Morgan.
It doesn't matter. It's a generic name. It doesn't belong in Star Wars. Give me a Poe Dameron. I want a name that at first I hear it, I'm like, this is not logical. I need that from my Star War.
Morgan Katarn is rolling over in his grave, Zach.
At least that has a goofy last name. I'll take that. I'll take at least one goofy name of the two. It doesn't have to be both. Beggars can't be choosers nowadays.
Rob has a Star Wars name too, by the way. I mean, Rob Oakey could definitely be Robo-Key, whatever. Could be an actual Star Wars name.
Yeah, the actress is actually. I remember reading this when it came out. She's like the niece of Bruce Lee, like in real life. That actress. I think that was like part of why. Yeah, Diana Lee is her name. Inosanto, Diana Lee Inosanto. So now you know, Zach, that her name's not Morgan Elsbeth. It's Diana Lee.
You'll always be Morgan Elsbeth to me. I'm sorry.
I was curious. Where was that witch magic when she was fighting Ahsoka?
They made it up.
They hadn't written that part of the script yet.
But she had the markings the whole time. You know, she had the Dathomirian marking, so it's obviously something they had like planned in some sort of way. But like, where was that? Would have probably helped her win that fight when she was just using that metal staff against Ahsoka.
Ooh, you know what didn't help her win that fight? Being in the 2003 Hulk movie. That's gonna hurt you. And Wild West.
Ang Lee's Hulk is practically like Shakespeare by today's standards. How dare you? But anyways.
At least it was maximum effort. I do give him that.
And get your guys' opinion on Merrick. Who is it? What's going on? Is he Star Killer?
So Merrick is the Snake Eyes character, of course, right? Is the mysterious, maybe former Inquisitor, definitely very G.I. Joe-ish looking, a little Sith guy, right?
My money's on he's going to be Star Killer.
You think that's what's his name under the mask? That's going to be
Galen Merrick. I mean Merrick, close enough. I mean, I'll take it. It's if it's Ezra, I'm gonna throw something at somebody because I'm like, come on. Ezra.
If he's Galen Merrick, he's a powered down Galen Merrick that's not even fun anymore. That like takes all the fun out of the character. So I hope that's not what it is.
It doesn't. Like, I'd be happy if they just at least had him in there. Come on. Like, we all want him to return in some form.
If they're gonna do that though, they need to make it like he's like the complete like equivalent to Ahsoka. Like really lean into that. Like this is Vader's other apprentice thing. And I don't get that vibe from Merrick at all.
He held his own.
Yeah, he threw his lightsaber and ran away.
What if it's Luke undercover? Who knows?
Yes. You know what? It's Luke undercover.
You got to admit though, his body frame and stuff does match like Ezra. He's like a skinny, like smaller.
I'm telling you, man, it'd be like, wait, but how? Why?
Yeah, how? Why? That's. I know it doesn't make any sense, but it's an interesting theory.
Oh, what? Are we gonna say that Thrawn brainwashed him?
Thrawn was here the whole time.
The call's coming from inside the Star Cruiser.
Yeah,
I think they imply that like there might be time stuff going on too, because she says like I hear Thrawn speaking to me across time and space, which is like so like when you travel through this like this the whatever the portal thing is that they're making. Is this like a time travel thing? Like, do you time travel when you go through this and go?
Scion? It's the Eye of Scion.
Is a vortex the same thing as a portal? Yes.
No one will get that except for us.
I know.
I got it.
Yeah, but if it's the thing is another galaxy is like so inconceivably far away that if you can get there and you don't have to like freeze yourself for like 1 billion years, it inherently involves time travel.
But this also ties into like the first Disney Thrawn trilogy of books, where in the second book, and Zenger can corroborate this, is that you had the Skywalkers in the Chiss culture. Like it makes sense that like they've laid the kind of abstract groundwork for all this.
And by the way, to explain to you peasants who haven't read yet, that's both you on the call and you off the call listening. Please like and subscribe. Skywalkers refers to Force-sensitive children within the Chiss culture. But due to the fact that they don't have Jedis in the Chiss culture, they kind of grow out of the Force sensitivity as they age out. And after that point, they are no longer used as navigators for starships as traveling through hyperspace.
Got it.
The more you know.
You just read me the book. I'm Catholic. I'm used to the Bible being read to me. So
I can't read. I can only watch Disney plus TV shows. It's my only way of consuming content. I'm sorry.
Every Sunday, Russell reads you 1 hour from a Thrawn trilogy novel.
Church of Vader or something.
Zenger's the reader between all of us. Like, who would have thought? It's amazing.
Zenger listens to books. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. He listens to books.
He's the listener.
Well, here's my question about Thrawn. Is Thrawn going to show up at any point in this, or is he going to be the Thanos of the Infinity War, where he shows up at the 11th hour, our heroes failed, and he's going to show up and be like, okay, again, it's the last 5 minutes of season 1.
He puts on a gauntlet and says, I'll do it myself.
Exactly.
I thought he would be in it. Maybe I'm just that I've learned to avoid spoilers to enjoy the wars a little more. So I actually expected all the talk about him. I'm like, oh, maybe we'll see a boot walk across a bridge at least, give us something. But yeah,
you were just even Russ is ready for just a boot. He would have been happy with just a piece of the dude's
that's
foot.
I think you're right, Zach, because we're already 25% of the way through, and apparently the next episode's like right around 30 minutes. So like, I don't know.
Listen.
Could be one of those things where it's very underwhelming and unsatisfying, and from a narrative perspective by the end of episode 8. And I really hope that's not the case.
I'm looking at it from a very cynical perspective, is that we keep saying that, the Filoni verse is going to crescendo into basically the Katana fleet, all of that, like Thrawn waging his war against the New Republic. This is why they go to disarmament by the events of the sequel trilogy.
We already saw a bootleg Katana fleet, so they can't do that again.
Well, yes, but they're gonna try it again, but slightly different, like they've done with everything else. That's my thing, is that Thrawn can't be the villain of this series because he's being saved as the Thanos of contemporary Star Wars.
In the books, did they have this whole interdimensional thing going on?
No.
Which books?
Wow.
Fair enough, Zenger. Fair enough.
Okay, for the Zahn series, the Zahn trilogy, whichever was
you gotta
the
narrow
good
it
one.
down. There's 3 of those.
The canon. Okay, hold on. The canon, the prequel, the prequel
Legends.
to the prequel.
Okay, all of the above was this.
The interaction between a whole separate galaxy came in Star Wars Legacy, not is it Legacy? No, what's the last book series that began with Vector Prime?
And what does that arc look like? Like what's
well, it's giant space alien orcs from another galaxy who are immune to the Force invade and dismantle Coruscant. Basically, it's pretty great.
And
Cool.
The original Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire, is just him showing back up, and it's like, yo. So
Well, again, we should really reiterate what makes Thrawn so interesting as a villain, because at that point, Star Wars is 14 years old. And what makes Thrawn so interesting is that he's not an evil space wizard. He's a master tactician. And he's like, I'm going to outthink all these people, as opposed to just being, I believe my super weapon will be quite operational when your friends arrive. It's not the empty rhetoric of space wizardry.
The original Heir to the Empire trilogy that this is sort of like siphoning hype off of is it didn't take place as long, it was a few years after Return of the Jedi, and Thrawn got an opportunity. And Thrawn got an opportunity to run the show in a way that he never would have under the traditional Imperial structure, basically. And, he was being held down. And, he really, once the Empire and Vader were gone, he could really sort of show his skills. And they sort of had to put him in a freezer of another galaxy for a while to explain why he wasn't around in the OT.
Yeah.
Can I please just mention my favorite calling card throughout this podcast, which at this point should be inscribed on my tombstone, is the Aftermath trilogy novel, where it says, and I quote, "The only reason why Palpatine kept Thrawn around was for his understanding of the unknown regions," which, as much as we laughed at the madman Chuck Wendig, who at this point is persona non grata within Lucasfilm, somehow we are still referencing one line from a novel from 6 years ago that is still pertinent.
It is pretty perfect.
So there's roots to the canon that they're creating now. It feels like it's got roots.
Hold on, don't get too excited.
It's buckshot seating, as Zenger will call it.
That book series, while boring,
it was solid for the time. Let's not call it boring in 2015, 16, 17.
It walked up with a shotgun and just blasted ideas out into the ether. There was a subplot about Vader's lightsaber and some acolytes or some followers.
Yes, which is a TV show that's coming out next year called The Acolyte. Cobb Vanth.
There's so much stuff that was set up. BB-8 was actually introduced in that, like his series of like. There's so much they just shotgun blasted out, and they're like, "Well, if we need it, it exists in the universe. It's out there." Plus, I don't think Mars Mikkelsen blew himself to not be in this more.
Clip it.
God damn it.
I think we're going to see Thrawn sooner than later on the show. I have a feeling like this story seems like it's progressing pretty quickly. Like I know it was a slow burn the first episode, but like we're already now at the point where like Ahsoka's going to the thing and Baylan is going to the thing. They're all going to the portal thing. They're all heading in the same direction. Like there's about to be a major convergence that's about to happen. I kind of feel like we're going to see Elsbeth go through this portal into this other galaxy, and Ahsoka and Sabine are going to kind of piggyback on that ride. I have a feeling.
My head just exploded.
See, I like the Dathomir stuff and the fact that that I don't know. I have Indiana Jones out. I mean, Indiana Jones still in theaters, possibly.
No, it is definitely not in theaters.
Ahsoka was. Rob told me that a couple of weeks ago too. I'll find
it. Bombed
a theater.
So hard. It bombed like harder than anything they've ever put out. To be honest,
even if Indiana Jones didn't bomb, everything in movie theaters is Barbie and Oppenheimer. There's no more, no less. Only two there can be.
And the Meg.
The only thing keeping us away keeping our Barbie and Oppenheimer from touching right now is the Meg. That's to keep a safe distance.
Well, okay, not to change the subject, but I have to ask a question. And I'm glad Rob already cursed on the podcast because I want Chris to bleep this out. Sabine being impaled. I have to ask the important question. Was Qui-Gon a...
Yeah.
Right? Between the Grand Inquisitor, Reva, Sabine, who's not even Force sensitive, and the series beats us across the head with that fact.
Love it.
Was Qui-Gon like dying of cancer? We didn't know that, and it was really like, all right, like he's a goner. So
may have had a pre-existing condition.
He got help quickly.
This is even more egregious, given that Filoni is like Filoni's like the number one like evangelist for like how important the Duel of the Fates is to what happens to the entire Star Wars saga. There's I want to bring up like a clip from the Disney Gallery where Filoni's like, "Oh, you guys don't understand Kathleen Kennedy, who he's directly talking to when he says this. If Qui-Gon didn't die, like none of the Empire happens. Like Anakin just grows up to be a good dude with a good teacher." Basically, is what Filoni says to like Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy, and and then he proceeds to show Sabine incidentally take the exact same injury that Qui-Gon did, and like it's an afterthought. It's a foregone conclusion that she's perfectly all right. They're just nerfing the lightsabers, man. It's just like it seems like a dumb nerd thing to glom onto, but like it's just like they're reducing the tension that you feel when you see people fight with lightsabers by doing stuff like that.
I'll back that up. My wife was watching with me and she immediately said, they'll just put her in Bacta. And I was like, and she
didn't even get that. That's what I thought too, Russ. And I'm just like, she didn't even get that. She just got in bed for a few days.
It felt a little bit like Shin was just playing with her food. Like it did, like she wasn't really trying to even kill her. It didn't seem like Shin seems like she's a beast. Like she could probably just win that fight. And, they say it in the episode that what's her name doesn't even have the Force. The hell's her name? Sabine doesn't even have the Force.
Yeah, robot Doctor Who tells her that.
Yeah, but like if she had killed Sabine, then Ahsoka would have been like right on her tail versus rushing her buddy to the hospital. But what I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Filoni making the choice to show her getting like perfectly impaled like through the torso. Like how in episode 3 when like somehow by a miracle Dooku just like toasts Obi-Wan's knee rather than cutting his leg off. He just burns it a little bit and then he throws some stairs on him. Like, do something like that where we're not just like bothered by the fact that she survived easily. That's all I'm saying.
I will say earlier today, Joe and I were talking about this, and it's like, why
take a hand? That's the old way. Take a hand.
That would have been too much, I think.
Exactly. Like I get the hand is kind of played out at this point, so I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But why couldn't they Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan with Dooku? Just nick him in the shoulder, nick him in like the thigh, and have him collapse. Guess what? It burns. Ow. Like get them some salve or some balm, and then move on to the next one. Like I don't get it. Like it's such a weird cheap shot that they keep doing.
Yeah, and it takes the stakes away too. I agree. Go.
Even though it wouldn't have taken her out, it could have been something to where she had her Beskar armor on under that.
Beskar underwear.
Beskar.
They show the wound though.
Or maybe she got hit and it still like knocked her back and Shin thought she did more damage and walks off, and then she just gets up and she's like, that getting a direct lightsaber hit takes a lot out of you.
That's why that Twi'lek's going to survive Book of Boba Fett too, because she survived the explosion because she was wearing a Beskar bra.
But how nice of Shin to like slide it in perfectly straight and pull it out perfectly straight, so that it only had like about a quarter sized hole and like no angle
around. Yeah, just make sure. Yeah.
Well, see, these are all off to the side. Like Obi-Wan's was directly in the center of the chest. Also, it's going to be in a flashback where Maul's going to be like, I actually poisoned him. And it's going to show us all that he throws like a poison cap in his mouth.
Do you guys think that this was purposely conceived to be similar to the Reva thing? Like in a way that like, as they're making these shows, they're loyal to their they're still creating Ahsoka on the notion that like Obi-Wan was badass. We just killed it with Obi-Wan. Let's make this show now do the Star Wars thing where we're like echoing what's happened in the past. And like, are we supposed to think of Reva when we see her get stabbed in that moment? Was that intentional?
To that point, Rob, absolutely, because people are already making fan like edit videos of Ahsoka looking at like the landscape of Lothal juxtaposed to like the flashbacks of Hayden Christensen and Obi-Wan on the temple like training grounds and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh yes, they are drinking their own Kool-Aid. Absolutely.
It's like poetry.
Yeah, it's just hitting their system way too late, and they're like, "Oh, you guys didn't like that? Sorry, we made this whole other thing referencing it."
They're married to it already, and like production wise, this show was create like months and months ago, probably like around when Obi-Wan was coming out. Around that time, it's probably when they were creating the show. So I think they're trying to cohesively create these stories that like in their eyes go together, but like what it's actually doing, the fans are getting pissed off at it because it's reminding them of shit that they hated from the other shows. It's like doing the opposite effect.
Not to jump too far ahead, but like it should be stated too as like Star Wars fans that like after the Acolyte and I guess the Bad Batch season 3, there's nothing on the horizon. We have the hollow film announcements that after Rob even mentioned it, the Dial of Destiny bombing. We're never getting the James Mangold, primitive Force user movie. That's never happening now. Like after the Acolyte and Bad Batch season 3, there's no Star Wars on the horizon. There's no movies. There's no TV shows. That's it. Like we're done after that.
Oh, yeah, they haven't even announced Mando season 4, right?
I'm with Zenger. At least we have Rebel Moon to look forward to.
Oh no! Don't be that person. Like we know. Don't be that person. We don't need that sort. Don't put that evil on us as Star Wars fans.
It looks fine. It looks fine. Honestly, did you guys see the trailer? It does. It looks okay.
No, it's against my religion to prop up Hack Snyder.
It seems interesting, but it's not. It's not Star Wars. It's not.
We'll see.
We should be talking about Gareth Edwards' first new film since Rogue One that comes out this fall.
What's he been doing?
That?
It's like District 9, but like not as interesting and less provocative.
Oh, right. That looks good. Looks good. The creator, right?
I think something like that. But like he finally got out of director's jail. Like outside, I think JJ's still in director's jail. Oh God, like everybody else, Colin Trevorrow was kind of in director's jail outside of Jurassic Park movies. We got to celebrate a Star Wars filmmaker finally getting out of director's jail.
Well, I've got good news for everybody. Can anyone name the last movie that Snyder did that was directed, written, produced, and DPO'd by him? Because Rebel Moon is one, but there's only one other one.
Sucker Punch.
All right, Zack's going with Sucker Punch.
Oh, I don't know. 300.
Yeah, I'll go with that. We're on the
All
same
right,
team.
going
We're
with
introduced. the same.
300. He did not produce 300.
Yeah, I was like, well, else you didn't write it. I don't think either.
I know he wrote the story. I mean, it's not like he took the actual story of 300 and just made a movie
wasn't
about
there,
it.
Rob.
He turned it into a film,
All right,
of course.
Joe, you got to guess.
Say Justice League.
Justice
Snyder
League.
Cut.
All right. Directed and wrote the story for that one.
Can I double down on Sucker Punch?
Sucker Punch. He was not in charge of. He was not the director of photography / cinematographer for it.
Really? Are we talking about like Netflix garbage or like or a real
We
movie?
are talking about Netflix garbage.
Oh, that doesn't. Okay, I'm disqualifying this conversation because Netflix is not real
Army of
cinema.
the Dead is the only thing he's done all
Right.
four on, and Rebel Moon will be the second thing he does all of them on. And
Is that
we
the movie
all
Chris
know-
D'Elia got kicked out of?
We all know how good Army of the Dead was.
Yeah, not featuring Chris D'Elia. It was amazing.
Skepticism intensifies.
The only reason that movie is interesting is because it was pitched as a Star Wars movie and rejected. So if it turns out good, that is hilarious. That's the only reason it's worth watching.
That's true. That I do love that.
Unlikely voice of reason.
I do love that. It is good though. You said that there's nothing on the horizon for Star Wars besides like the Filoni movie, the possible Rey movie or whatever. Like it's kind of bleak as far as the future for Star Wars goes. But this stuff with like new galaxies in Ahsoka, I think could possibly be like a way to head in a good direction in a lot of ways. Like this could open things up as far as the storytelling goes, where like we're not trapped in the same little galaxy doing the same shit over and over again. We can explore and do some new things that are more interesting. Like I like the Night Sister angle. I think that's going to be cool.
I agree with you, Rob, on a creative aspect. It is somewhat fertile, but the fact that we haven't gotten to put the business aspect into it, the fact that we haven't gotten any Disney headlines of like Ahsoka series premiere is the highest viewed blah, blah, blah in Disney Plus history in 30 years. The fact that we haven't gotten any sort of sensational headlines, whether they be real or fake, leads me to believe this isn't getting the ratings numbers that they anticipated.
Yeah.
The fact that they're not being sensationalized leads me to believe that they're underwhelmed by what they're getting reception wise.
And that's because of the state of Star Wars all in general.
Well,
it's
that
not
too.
even because of the show. I think people are more hesitant to like get into a new Star Wars show because they've given the last couple of things that they watched Boba Fett and they were like, what the fuck is going on?
It should be stated.
I'm sorry.
Book of Boba Fett, I think, is still the highest like viewed Star Wars Disney Plus thing to date.
That's crazy. It's
That's a shame.
It's insane, man.
It's no wonder we're societal outcasts.
I have a theory,
Okay, continue.
and it goes on what Rob said. And basically, yes, they're going into this whole time and space thing. And think of Flight of the Navigator. Who watched Flight of the Navigator on Disney?
Love it.
Years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
So they're going to do this thing. Yeah, we are going to see Thrawn. But at the end, our heroes in the movie with Mando, Grogu, Ahsoka, Sabine, all of them are going to go in the portal. They're going to go out to that galaxy. They're going to come back just in time for Rey's movie with the new Jedi Order. Because what's the one thing that always has people head scratching? Where are these characters during the sequel trilogy? They're not
You're
there.
talking about time dilation.
Yeah. Yeah. They're in another galaxy. And then you can explain it away by using the time
Exactly.
dilation.
They came back using the same way, but guess what? Time has passed. And that's why they're with Rey now, and they haven't aged. And boom, there you go. There's your other sequel trilogy right there. And it's going to pick up everything where it left off.
That sounds like that could totally happen. That doesn't sound
And it's
like
seamless.
far off.
Is Cobb Vanth
It
coming?
checks all of the boxes.
By the surgeon in the Book of Boba Fett, Russ.
But just think about it that way, because they're saying that they're going to end this whole Mandoverse by having a movie. And what better way of having a movie than to have them go to the other galaxy with Thrawn, put him back in exile, then they come back for Rey's movie where she's establishing a new Jedi Order. Next thing you know, they're going to be fighting these space creatures that are immune to the Force. How awesome of a movie would that be?
That would be fun.
Issue. I'm not poo-pooing your idea. I'm just saying, I work with filthy casuals when it comes to Star Wars. I know a ton of them have not watched a single episode of anything animated. And I know it's coming. The bombardment of me. Who are these characters? What's going on? Explain, because this show does very little. It just goes, yeah, you must have watched the other shows. So that's the thing. Not only introducing the concept of, hey, you probably should have watched a ton of other series, but then introducing, well, a good idea, Joe.
I could agree with you on that, but the thing is this: yes, 20 years ago, that would have been a thing, because then you would have to go to a video store and you would have to rent it. But the same thing that you're watching is a streaming service where this thing is on, and on that streaming service is everything you need to watch to catch up on it. And so if someone's really invested in it, what they'll be able to do is they'll be able to sit there and watch it the same day after. Like my daughter watched first 2 episodes of Ahsoka with me. And what did she do after that? All day today, she was sitting there catching up on Rebels because she wanted to know what was going on. So she has the opportunity of doing that, and she doesn't have to wait and go to Best Buy or wherever the place it is where they have DVDs, because she could just get it on her TV right in her bedroom, and she could sit there. And
freaking boomer, Zenger. Don't understand how this works.
It's a whole different animal now than it was before.
But how many of you guys saw like posts of like middle-aged dudes being like, I personally don't watch cartoons, so how much cartoons do I need to watch to understand Ahsoka? And then they just get pilloried because they're just like, I mean, I was basically, every time I saw one of those, I put quotation marks and I said, I only watch live action children's films. And then dash like original poster. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There was a lot of guys I saw who said, I don't watch cartoons. And it's just like, I think that's a state of being.
Yeah, there's a snobbery in that.
The people that are watching those cartoons before are the people that are watching that Disney streaming right now.
And there are also kids that are getting older. Like Rebels and Clone Wars have been around for quite a while now. I mean, people who were kids watching that are at the point now where they are getting in their late teens, 20s. Like I'm talking little kids who are watching it. My son, for example, like he saw that came out and he watched Rebels when he came out. He's like, oh, they're all in there? I'm like, yeah, they're all in there.
I'll even throw this in there, though. If you wanted to even cheat, even as long as you have some background on what Star Wars is, you can watch one of those YouTube videos where it's like Ahsoka's story in 3 minutes. You could watch that and then watch the show and know enough knowledge about what's going on in the background where you don't need to watch 4 seasons of Rebels and 6 seasons of Clone Wars. You can just see the moments that you need to see with Ahsoka that are important and then get to the main story. That works. But in the end, what the real thing here is a good story, good writing for comic books, good writing for television. You shouldn't need to have seen, like, you should be able to write a sequel, and viewers should be able to go into the theater and sit down and watch a sequel and enjoy it without having had to see the first movie. If it's written well and if it's written smooth enough with enough finesse, the viewers will learn all of the stuff that they need to know throughout the episode as the story unfolds. And it may be a little bit more fulfilling for people who've done the homework, but as far as enjoying the experience and not feeling left out, like if it's written in the right way, it can do all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you're saying, Rob, but is it a financially wise thing to make it redundant so that you don't have to watch all that stuff as a newcomer? Sure, it's financially wise. I don't know if it's like the key to like the best, most interesting storytelling, but it's like it's a financially wise decision so that people don't feel alienated as soon as they turn it on and they keep watching the whole series. But I feel like it's good. Like, I like the fact that like you get a little more out of this if you have been paying attention, but because if they re-explained their interpersonal relationships of everyone in Rebels, like, holy crap, would they have wasted a whole episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think they set it up in a way where it's like, yeah, a lot of people are probably wondering, who is Ezra? Like, what? Why should I care about finding Ezra? And it's like, you care about it because these characters care about them. That's like what you need to know about it. Like, that's the motivation for the show. It's not like eventually you'll understand why it's so important. Like, they give you the hints there where, like, even the opening scene with Sabine on the bike, where it's like, all right, I don't know this character. She seems like she's a rebel. I get that impression from this first scene with her. You know, like that kind of stuff. Like, it's a little bit like, it's a little heavy handed at times, but like that's Filoni's style kind of, I think. And it's effective. I think you can watch this show and not have ever seen it before and be intrigued and like want to know the answers to these questions just as much as people who have the knowledge.
Yeah, and I like that they immediately give Chopper the homicidal tendencies. It's like, what's their one personality trait that we can distill into a single scene, like really quickly? Like, this one is a little bit of a rebel, and she takes off on her speeder because she don't want to be there. And this droid might be insane, but he's very cartoony. And this is a very serious general and pilot, but she's also a good friend. You know, they have to get that all immediately out there. And I just hope, it's better than, you know, doing Spider-Man's origin or whatever that many times for all these people. Like, don't overdo it.
Generally, like, what do you guys think about the fact that they're actually like sort of like there's not a whole lot of acknowledgement that there's even a distinction between galaxies, like cinematically in Star Wars, and there's a tiny little bit in the books, mostly in Legends. And you know, you always think about that weird scene at the end of The Empire Strikes Back where, like, how far out from the galaxy is this rebel fleet, because they're sort of looking at the galaxy in this ending shot, and it's like, you know, like, is it that easy to get like far enough out from it that you can like sort of look at it out a window? Like, I don't know, that shot always kind of bothered me as someone who like is barely scientifically literate enough to understand what a galaxy is. So like, is it like, I don't know, the way they sort of talk, what gets me is the way they sort of talk about the subject of another galaxy. Ahsoka doesn't seem like her mind is blown by being able to traverse that distance. It's almost like there's been existing knowledge that it was possible, or like anecdotally people had talked about it, because like that's kind of like
Skull says that. He says that in the episode. He says it was like Jedi children's tales.
Okay.
Yeah,
so, like,
they kind of tie it in. I did like that little fairy tale element here. That was kind of the most like really deep moment when you realize that these, you know, they're not these super hard. They're super hard killers, but he seems very reverent of the Jedi Order. His Padawan is evil, but's got a Padawan braid.
Yeah. Oh, he's conflicted. That guy's conflicted. There's something going on with Balin. I don't know what it is, but he's not a simple character. I like that about him.
Yeah, when he said it'd be a shame to kill Ahsoka because there's so few Jedi left, like, it's, you know, that's what I'm talking about. That's the bare minimum 2 dimensions to a villain that you know, Disney Star Wars has been needing. You know, it's good.
Yeah, sometimes you have to know when to hold them, and you have to know when to fold them. And I think this is a character that's figuring that out. Sometimes you gotta know when to walk away. Yeah, and know when to run.
He don't run. This guy don't run from anybody. He goes right into the fire, man. I love like the catching the blaster shots and shooting them back, but having it all kind of off screen. So it's like even more mysterious. You're like, what is he even doing? But he took those dudes out. That whole intro sequence, I feel like, sets the tone of the show so nicely, and like it does such a good job of like referencing so many different things from Star Wars throughout that whole, you know, like the code thing about the code being an old Jedi code right from the beginning, and then how they come out of the ship and it's very similar to the prequels, but then it's
very
like
similar to the beginning of Return of the Jedi when Vader comes too.
Exactly. It's like it harkens back to so many different nostalgic things in Star Wars, but doesn't do it in like a cheesy way. It does it in a natural feeling way.
And Chris, you should appreciate this, the fact that the body type of this guy is perfect for Star Wars fandom and conventions. Older dudes who are fat with beards who go to conventions can be this guy. He is like a great character to enter into cosplay. Like, think about it. There was like 90% of Star Wars fans could just be this guy tomorrow if they wanted.
That's never stopped any Star Wars fans from portraying any characters.
But you know, we got to point out the amusing use of Mark Ralston in that opening scene as like the very General Madine-esque captain of that Mon Calamari cruiser.
He's so good.
I just hope they just pepper in the entire cast of aliens like in random cameos throughout this series like that, because we got Michael Biehn in the one Ahsoka episode of Mando season 2. And I don't know, it's just like, he's there because like, I haven't followed his career, but to me, it feels like he's there just because he's an alien, and I'm in favor of that.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that was him at all.
What was he going to do if they weren't? If they weren't Jedi, if they were Imperial, was he about to throw down with those two? Like, what was he thinking when he brought them on the ship?
He thought they were LARPers. He didn't think they would actually have force powers and would be like good at fighting. But like the cool thing is that the shuttle they're using is like that same Republic shuttle that all the Jedi go on missions on, and like Tales of the Jedi uses it like in 3 episodes, I think, and some other stuff. So it's sort of cool that they're actually like maintaining that design. Like those guys have just had that stolen car for like 20 years or whatever it is. It's pretty cool.
I like that too. Yeah, that was that whole sequence with every time they show anything like that's a space battle in this show, it felt so right. Like all of the ships and the special effects and stuff, it felt like movie quality, as opposed to in the past where like there's parts in The Mandalorian that feel like that, but at other moments you feel like the money is not there like it is in the movies when it comes to like the star battles. This felt like up there.
We got a nice big ship. Yeah, a nice ship shot in the beginning. We got the X-Wings look great. I mean, every time they showed those, it was pretty spot on.
And they rebuilt some small portion of the Rebel briefing room on Home One from Return of the Jedi. That was cool. Just it's like it's a nice touch, but I don't know. Like the costume thing is a bit weird. Like I hear a lot of people saying they don't like how Hera looks.
Her eyes are distracting.
Because it's contacts, right? And they're like not quite aligned properly sometimes, and it's like
they're too bright too. Like it's too bright. It's off. Same thing with, I think Ahsoka's eyes are a little distracting sometimes too. Like I don't know, it's a contact lens thing.
Well, it's a contact thing. Like I remember when Return of the Jedi was back in theaters like a couple months ago. I was like, wow. Seeing this in 4K on the big screen, I never realized that the Emperor is essentially cross-eyed all the time because of those contacts.
He's like, accurate to his initial hologram look of looking completely weird in the eyes. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's true though. Like, check it out. Like those pupils are never in the right direction.
It's a little distracting sometimes. Like, and I guess between the contact lenses and then like the hollow acting from Rosario, it makes it like it takes me out of it sometimes in certain moments where I'm like, I wish she was putting a little bit more into this, and then I could get into it more.
And then if you look at if you're just real dedicated to the intaking all the Disney material that you can, like I think the casting for Hera is a bit weird, especially if you played Star Wars Squadrons. Hera has a good amount of screen time in that, and it's like, that's no Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I'll tell you that. Like, I don't know, if you Google like Hera from Squadrons, like, it's really like way off the mark. And I guess that had the original voice actress too. But like, I'm just saying in terms of like the way the character looks, it's like it's a big left turn for like what in chronology terms is like the day before what we're seeing, pretty much.
Well, part of that too is that because of Mary Elizabeth Winstead is Ewan McDonald's real life.
That's the worst possible answer to that. Like that should not be the reason why she's
It is the reason.
It's definitely part of it.
Be like, we'll give your wife a part on a show if you do Obi-Wan.
You're right, because Kenobi was so good that we need to be handing out favors.
And maybe we'll hook y'all two up in the show. We get timelines we can mess with.
We discovered time dilation.
Okay, just real quick, just for shorthand, can we please call Mary Elizabeth Winstead Mew? Because like I'm gonna choke on that name every single time I have to say it, because like she's a decent enough actress, but everything I've ever seen her in over the last 10 plus years, she does the Ramona Flowers thing where she's just stoic for the sake of being stoic, whether it be in Gemini Man with Will Smith, Birds of Prey. Like, Zenger, again, I know you watch all this garbage along with me. Like, it's the same performance in everything. Like, she has no range. and she's just playing within her wheelhouse. Like, and this is where it makes me mad is that like looking at this show that like Rosario Dawson is very much playing within her wheelhouse. She's very stoic to a fault.
There's a very Rosario Dawson moment where I'm like, that's just Rosario Dawsoning in a Rosario Dawson.
Exactly.
Costume.
Like a couple days ago, I was rewatching Unstoppable, the Chris Pine, Denzel Washington runaway train movie. And I'm just like, her version of like emoting is just exclaiming at a monitor. She does not know how to emote outside of just reading dialogue. And then like I have to say, like everybody who's being translated from a 2-dimensional cartoon to a 3-dimensional actor, I am pretty impressed with Natasha Liu Bordizzo. Like, I bought her as Sabine. At no point watching this where I was like, okay, whether it be Rosario Dawson or Mary Elizabeth Winstead, where I'm like, there's a disconnect here. I bought her as Sabine. At no point was I like, well, and that's what I don't get it. Like, even with Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, she like every single scene with her almost plays out the exact same way. Scene starts, her back's to the camera. She like, I'm going to almost mime it on camera so I can kind of get the point across. Back to the camera. Somebody starts talking to her. So she turns around, does like the weird, like Spock, like raised eyebrow to be inquisitive as to what point they're trying to get across. And then very flatly delivers the line of dialogue while her arms are folded. That's every single scene.
Arms folded, nailed it.
Yeah, arms crossed. Yeah.
Yes. And then unless it's an action sequence where very clearly it's a double, because every action sequence she's wearing a gray cloak, yet when it's Rosario Dawson, she takes the cloak off. And I'm just like I get it. It's a cartoon character in live action. I'm not expecting the world. The bar is set low, all things considered.
I want to see if I can do it. Hold on.
Well, that's the thing is that it's that like, why I get it. She was fan casting. There's the infamous video, like 15, 16, where like nerds on the internet are like, oh, she'd be perfect. Then her on Conan being like, well, if Disney's listening, I'd be open to it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's like
we're just actually the internet's fault for like kind of forcing this. Yeah, kind of is. Like it's like John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. They tried to make that happen, and I guess kind of did.
They at least did, but they realized it was a terrible mistake immediately.
That's a fake one.
Don't worry about him. She felt more like Ahsoka in Mandalorian, though. Like when she met Grogu for that episode, I feel like that felt like Ahsoka. Like even the whole her back and forth with Din felt like Ahsoka. She like kind of is a little she's, does her little snarky thing. She's got a little bit of an attitude, but she also feels like an older Ahsoka. This just feels like this. She's been through it and she is like done with everybody and everything.
She's seen things.
She's seen everything.
We're also judging on just 2 episodes in, which is 20%, but
25.
Yes, but I mean, it could get better. It could just be that we're just not seeing the problem is they got.
When you save someone using the world between worlds, they just come back with no soul. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yes.
Perfect. I got a question. What did you guys think about Chris? What did you guys think about Ezra friend zoning Sabine in his message where he leaves her the message?
I will say I'm so glad you brought that up, Rob, because I had always for the last X amount of years, 5 years since the Rebels finale, it was always alluded to that like that was a blossoming romance. Like not that it was a romance, but like, oh, we're seeding that. And then he's like in his little like voicemail, he's like, we call my friend Sabine with a capital.
It's like, you're not my sister, but I look at you as a sister. That was so weird. But
Who
is
knows
that
how
like,
they act in La Fall, though? You know.
well, is that supposed to be like, is Filoni doing that on purpose for us to be like, to get a knee jerk reaction out of us? But then he's gonna like Luke and like Leia this, but they're not related this time. Is like
Well, I think there might be a more woke angle to it as well, which I'll just leave to the imagination.
Yeah, well, what Russ is saying is that if there's a hint of a traditional relationship forming, you have to stamp it out immediately. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, and like I have seen some people say things like,
He's trying to eat me.
Disney doesn't want the woman chasing the man, like having to go chase after the man. Like that's not the Disney way. But I don't know if it's that. I think it was almost like there's two things. Either Disney did say like they have to be those two, they're not hooking up, they're brother and sister, or he did this on purpose to get the audience like to create some sort of something there so that like at a certain point Sabine can go to Ahsoka and be like, I think I like him more than a brother, like to create that tension possibly.
It's definitely the most like female-led hero action going, and I know we're kind of natural and used to it because this was a part of Rebels and everything. But it is pretty front and center, very girl power. I mean, all the main characters are female except for a couple of villains. There's not, there's a boy in space. There's a bad boy in space and a good boy in space that we have to go find.
Well, they're aliens first, Russ.
That's true.
And honestly, it's irrelevant, like if they're male or female to begin with, but it's about the story. Like if they can make the story interesting and the story's good, that's what's important. These characters are all like built-in characters and they just happen to be female. I think we're going to get Zeb at some point in this show. We're going to get, Ezra's obviously going to come into the show. It's going to like things will be more balanced if that's what you're looking. If that's really what you're.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm not looking at it, judging it either way. Star Wars hasn't ever really done that. Like all the series have been pretty male focused. Like even when it's like a female, important character, it's never run, and then you go, oh wow, look around. It's like actually all like a lot of just main female characters. It's good. It's interesting. I like it.
Yeah, anything is better than if the unholy offspring of Kanan and Hera becomes the lead character. As long as that doesn't happen, we're fine.
Whoa. We got to talk about what matters. When do we get to see Jason Syndulla?
He's coming. They're saving
How orange will his skin be?
That's going to be the tag at the end of the season. That'll be the last thing. That'll be the last thing we see before this. At the very end of this season, they're going to be like,
Force Ghost Freddie Prinze Jr.
They're going to be like, yo, Sabine, we got someone who we need you to teach. Like we have your apprentice, Sabine. And they're going to be like, he's going to come out of the back. It'll be a little Jason Syndulla with a lightsaber ready to go, For the listeners at home, Ross very slowly raised up into like focus of the camera, the baby Rodian. From what line of toys was that, Ross? Like it completely...
I don't know, Galaxy Babies or something. Baby Yoda was so popular. They made baby versions of,
It's Baby
Ewoks.
Greedo.
It's a Baby Greedo. Yeah, I have a Baby Greedo here. He's awesome. He's my son. I love him more than anything. I will die for him.
Put that Knights of Vader mug down. That hasn't been referenced in over 4.5 years on this podcast.
Long time.
It's been a long time since that mug. Well, okay, here's a question for you. At what point, this is the thing, you have two pseudo Jedi come murder a bunch of New Republic officers.
Nerds.
And the first person they call is Ahsoka. Is Luke Skywalker just like putting all calls to voicemail, or
no one knows where he is?
That was my thing. I'm like, well, Ahsoka's out there doing all this. It's like, I thought this was Luke's time of adventuring with Lando, going around finding all these, legendary items that you need to find. But evidently Ahsoka's there, but she doesn't need to talk to Luke at all, right?
But Zach, Luke would suck all the air out of the room, and then we wouldn't want to see Ahsoka and Sabine.
Hold on. Isn't this
is the thing,
rim?
though?
Or mid-rim?
Well, but here's the question, though. Is it like, and I get it, like it's like the Marvel dilemma. It's like every single time one of these things happens, it can't just simply be Iron Man and Captain America coming to save the day. I get it. Like I can see that. But the question is that like you have two Force users who claim to be Jedi show up literally out of nowhere, and there's not even like an offhand comment that like we know Luke Skywalker is operating. Like he came out of nowhere to save a random Mandalorian and a big whiskey as an offhand. Like, he came out of nowhere to save the day. And yet 2 Force users from the era of his father show up, and it's like not even and who knows? Like, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that will be referenced in the Ultron. Luke Skywalker may make an appearance.
You need hologram Luke. It would be even enough, I think. Just a quick like, yeah, I've got these other guys here. All right, that's ridiculous. Why I don't write for shows, but a quick hologram Luke, I think, would have kind of worked in this show.
With some sort of excuse as to where the hell he is, like anything at this point you're happy with.
I'm in this nest of Gundarks again. Oh no.
Yeah.
Isn't he literally like training Grogu at this exact moment? Like, is something like that? It's like really overlapping with that sort of season 3 Book of Boba Fett time period, right?
You can make the argument of that, but I don't know, because at this is the problem, is that we don't know, because at this point in time, is Moff Gideon cloning himself? Is Bo-Katan and the Mandalorians leading a rebellion to reclaim their planet? Like, we don't know what's happening right now.
How old is Kylo Ren at this moment? That's a good barometer too. Okay.
There was an official comment that said that it takes place concurrently with season 3 of Mandalorian.
Well, you can match it up like this, because her first appearance in live action is in The Mandalorian, and she knows about Thrawn already. She's looking for Thrawn. She captures Morgan Elsbeth in that episode. So that already tells us that that takes place shortly before the show Ahsoka starts. So there's our time frame right there.
And tortures her for.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. That's right. Ahsoka showed a little dark side action.
So that's actually Mandalorian season 2, I believe, right? That's Mandalorian season 2. So it'll like you said, it'll be congruent basically with what's going on in Mandalorian season 3. But somewhere in between there, she stopped off to visit Luke for a little. She stopped looking for Thrawn for a minute just to go hang out with Luke. We don't really ever even know why she's there, right?
She's chilling out in that Book of Boba Fett episode too, like no agenda whatsoever. Yeah, so like it should be before this series, I would hope.
And then so she went back to searching for Thrawn when she got done hanging out. Luke is like, "Will I ever even see you again?" She's like, "I don't, maybe, dude, possibly." Like because the writers don't even know, so they're like, "We'll leave it open." So it's an interesting place where like they leave her off with Luke there, intentionally vague if they're ever going to see each other again. And Luke is building the school. I guess you can say he's
but this is the thing though, but like think about it, like this is what makes it so fascinating. You have Hu Yang, who's like analyzing their lightsabers, and you have Luke, who clearly has some, I don't want to say he's trying to, it's not just rebuilding the order, because based on Battlefront 2 and other pieces of ancillary media, he's collecting relics from bygone eras. The idea that 2 Clone Wars era Jedi showed up out of nowhere with Clone Wars era tech should pique his curiosity. Yeah. And like I said, who knows? Maybe I would be shocked if they don't use him as an ace up their sleeve. But it's just weird that this happens. The New Republic, which at this point between Moff Gideon and Morgan Elsbeth being both captured by some quasi version of the Imperial Remnant, are just like, maybe we should call this guy who destroyed the first Death Star, supposedly killed the Emperor. Maybe we should get this guy involved.
Yeah, Hu Yang forgot about Luke when he's like, those are going to be 2 formidable foes for you to go against alone. Well, maybe you won't be alone. Yeah, call Luke. She doesn't need to be alone. She's got a sick Jedi literally waiting in the wings. Like, that droid should have been able to know that in that moment, because he knows everything about every Jedi ever. So there's some weird plot holes that are definitely happening there, just so that we don't have to involve Luke in everything going forward in Star Wars. I think we're going to see a lot more of these plot holes, and I don't think they're ever really going to explain most of them. I think it's just going to be like, it is what it is. Keep moving forward, sort of a thing. Like, we're going to another galaxy now. Luke is going to stay in this galaxy.
Back to the Meg. Yeah, like a shark. You got to keep moving.
Joe, what's your thoughts on all this?
Well, my thoughts is, she was in one episode of The Mandalorian. She went and she told him where to go to have Grogu send his Force telegram to a Jedi Master. and she hopped in her ship, dropped off the lady with the New Republic, and then this all happened. That's it. It's in between this and the Book of Boba Fett. So it's the reason they're invoking Anakin Skywalker, so she came by to visit Grogu and see Anakin's kid, Luke. And then that it'll actually make more sense when you sit there and look at it as a whole, because, hey, why was she at Luke's school?
That's what I was thinking too.
They must have ran into each other somewhere or something.
She wouldn't go searching for him because
Grogu.
She would have searched for him before. So, if anything, they're gonna unlock the member berry in her head, like, oh, Anakin had a kid. Oh, he had a kid. Let me go see him.
I thought Padme just got fat towards the end there. She's probably like, oh, man, I thought I actually looked better. He was more into me. He's like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
And I'll be honest with you, and she needed it. She needed to wash that cloak. He had the washer, the Samsung washer and dryer at the old Jedi Academy. Put it in an Astrotech droid.
I have an
Rinse and
idea.
spin.
I think that much like Game of Thrones, since that was brought up earlier, they should do like a director cut thing to where it just has a little bubble appear at the bottom of the screen to explain what a character is doing or what's going on. But instead it's just George Lucas appearing going, well, during this time I was at the concession stand ordering a pizza.
It's like Kevin Costner talking about the postman. Like, oh, I didn't know what I was doing here. I'm sorry, folks. Sorry,
yeah. I remember writing a character of Ahsoka. George, you didn't write Ahsoka. Yes, I did. I was there. It was Tuesday, and it's Taco Tuesday.
I would pay money to hear that. I'd pay money to hear George Lucas doing commentary on the new Star Wars material, just to hear his reactions to things. I feel like.
Well, Rob, I got good news for you. If you send money to my PayPal account, I'll get you that.
Oh, somebody's already done it for free. I've seen some good deep.
The George Lucas show.
Yeah. It's. I mean,
hey,
you can only imagine.
You are taking money out of my pocket. Send that money.
With Watto.
Or you could watch the real George Lucas interviews where he talks about the sequel trilogy. It's pretty good.
Wish George Lucas would just like, I just want to be a YouTuber, and I'll review every episode of everything they do, because they're not letting me do anything. But he's too nice and he loves it.
No, I'd love George Lucas to review Star Trek instead.
Interesting.
Real quick, not to divert from this very specific train of thought. Who else thought of Star Trek? Maybe Joe. You definitely had to pick up on it with the Imperial Admiral. I'm not Imperial. I'm sorry, New Republic, like captain of that ship when they're greeting Balin and Shin, and like how they're addressing him. Like that didn't feel like Star Wars to me. That felt like Star Trek.
I mean, he has the exact same uniform as General Madine. Like it's not like that.
But Star Wars isn't about greeting a weird ship in the hangar bay being like, "Hello, so and so. We are great for your presence." That's not Star Wars.
When you're not a filthy Neimoidian, that's how you do it. You actually walk out to the ship and greet them personally.
I don't know, man. Joe, did you get a Star Trek vibe from that, or is it just me?
No, it wasn't a Star Trek vibe. I think he just wanted to personally call him out on it.
I almost got the vibe of the Imperial. It felt a little more Imperial dressed as New Republic. I almost felt like, where are you going with this thing? Kind of cockiness to it, where they don't know what the situation they're getting into. But yeah, I don't like when the Star Trek-y kind of stuff does seep in a little bit, and it kind of does there. But then the lightsabers come out and end that quickly.
Yeah, I felt like it was intentionally made to be similar to. There's a scene exactly like this, and isn't it episode 1 with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan when they are like they dock and then they come out and then they're greeted in a very similar way, but aren't they asked to show their they harkens back where they're like, can you show your credentials, and doesn't he do a Jedi mind trick on them and then they don't have to show them credentials or something along those lines?
No,
it was a way more formal than that. Yeah,
I'm combining multiple scenes. I think I'm combining multiple moments into one, but it's in a lot of ways I think it was designed to be like a reflection of.
Well, yeah, it was meant to emulate the Phantom Menace, but it just. That's the thing that makes it so interesting, is that it would have been fascinating that again, it devolves into the lightsabers in the hallway, which seems to be the Lucasfilm get out of jail free card. Is that, oh, they know the fans love it when there's lightsabers in the hallway. Let's just give them that and hope it just glosses over. And it's like we've seen that again. Vader, it was great. It was relatively groundbreaking. Luke Skywalker does it. It's great. It's the flip side of that coin. Now we have two random dark side users doing the exact same thing to just generic fleet troopers. It's like, okay, we've used that trope. Like, let's put it to bed. It's not entertaining anymore.
Force users.
And then that's not the only exact episode 1 scene. Like when Shin Hati like tracks the map to Sabine, it's like shot for shot and sound effects exactly when like Darth Maul sends out his little probe droids on Tatooine.
Oh yeah.
It's like it's not even subtle. It's just like we're just doing exactly that, and we're matching the pacing of the whole scene and sound effects.
There's the part after the fight with Ahsoka and Starkiller where the shuttle's flying off and it's framed the exact same.
And like where Maul is jumping on the ramp of the ship too.
Yep.
They've done it. They mirrored that kind of shot too. Yeah.
It's like poetry.
But for Ahsoka this time, when the city was blowing up, right?
Imagine telling people in like 1999, like someday we're gonna emulate scenes from episode 1. That's how revered it's gonna be.
Chris, imagine telling that somebody in 2000 that we were going to emulate shots from the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, exactly. Hold beats. Yeah, it's.
Imagine telling fans in 2015 we would be emulating shots from the Phantom Menace.
I'll just say, imagine fans in 1977. They'd be like, well, "What's the Phantom Menace?" So,
some of the stuff that they did with the droids is really cool. Like I like the HK droids. How like when Ahsoka first comes out of that temple, how they're just like completely still, like statues. I thought was kind of creepy and cool. And like even when they show the two of them with Shin, like in that when they just show that one shot and they're just standing there, not even moving, and like there's something about the way that they're using those droids. It's very effective, and I love the voice effect. Like they made it sound like kind of Kylo Ren-esque when it's like you have to fight us, and she's like us. And they're like us or whatever.
Us. I
love that whole was very well executed. I love the droids. They did a good job with that.
Now, you guys might disagree with me or agree with me on this, but I'm going to say it. I think they should have done when Baylan and her are walking down that hallway and he's like, who captured you? Instead of her responding, it should have just smash cut to the Ahsoka title card.
Yeah.
Maybe I've been watching too much Invincible.
Or even a wipe. We could have used a wipe or two in here.
Yeah, it would have been a nice touch instead of her telling him that. It would have been because everyone knows who did it, so it would have been a nice little nod to us to have her about to answer and just Ahsoka.
Yeah, it would
like a Twi'lek or Torguda or something. I don't know. She's got this weird. All right, sorry.
Leku.
Speaking of tentacles, did anyone else notice that the other galaxy had the space whales around it, much like the wolves around the World Between Worlds?
Yes.
So,
because I think
don't shake your head, Chris. There's a connection there, and you're denying it.
Can you imagine the like hitchhiker biome destruction caused by Purgles going from galaxy to galaxy, carrying like zebra muscles on them on the side, and just just ruining biomes in other galaxies with their fragrant disregard for galactic borders. Hate to see it.
Well, I mean, I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get.
There's not a lot of like Beastmaster Jedi running around out there like Ezra, though. Like Ezra, the whole reason why they think they did that whole thing was because Ezra was basically like commanding them to do that in the end, because he had the connection with animals throughout Rebels. That was like his particular force.
Yeah, he leveled up creature handler very young, which is
they like made that pretty clear in Rebels that like he was like animal force user, like Beastmaster.
Guy rolled a net 20.
He was force sensitive Aquaman.
Yeah, basically. Basically.
I am Landman.
But I think that it made it interesting to see the Purgler there. I think that just signifies that that's where Thrawn is. I think like that's the galaxy that we want to go to.
Maybe that's where the Purgler come from initially.
Yeah, I mean, I like I was saying, I'm generally on board. I think the one thing I find a little incredulous is like Baylan's like strong belief that Thrawn is like literally the key to like everything.
I think the Emperor being the back burner and cloning is the backbone of all of this, that they just never want to say. It's a huge part of Mandalorian. It's probably still a huge part of this because they know it all leads up to where it's going to go, which is episode 9 anyway. We
got to learn more. We got to learn more about Balin, and before we can really like make any real statements about that, I think we need to learn the backstory of Balin and Shin so that we can see how they are related. I think their relation to Thrawn is going to really make a big difference in understanding the motivation. I know he says he's paid well, so he's like a bounty hunter Jedi, which I think is cool. Like that's sick. We haven't really seen anything like that in Star Wars, like at least in the live action stuff, where there's like a Jedi who gets paid to just go out and do jobs, which
that was made a big point. Where they broke her out. Like, oh yeah, these guys they get a lot to do this.
Well, here's a question for Balin. What happens to him at the end of the season? Obviously, Ray Stevenson is no longer with us. Do they write him out, or does he get bloated up? Does he get Carrie Fisher? Does he get
stabbed
Paul Walker? Does he
chest.
ride into the sunset?
I bet they didn't change it.
I think he already died. He was supposed to die in the story, and he just
they were like, "Whew, good thing we killed him off." Like, wow.
Shin is gonna have to avenge his death at some, like, in the end of the story is what it feels like. She's like that sort of character. She's going to be, if he dies, she's going to carry on and keep following out whatever mission he was on, is what it feels like, at least.
I think he's going to get stabbed in the exact same spot and die, just so we can argue about it for, what are we going on now? 2 hours.
So Sabine does it, and she goes, no getting up, no healing. I'm just going to watch you writhe with this one.
Yeah.
Prove this can kill you.
You got to be at the center of a massive explosion to die in Star Wars. I think that's the new standard.
Unless you're Grogu, which you can just create a bubble around yourself and then you're good, yo.
Good for him.
Those HK droids and their explosion, like, man, have we ever seen such an explosion in Star Wars outside of a Death Star?
No, that was pretty
orbital
heavy.
bombardment.
I guess, but like I've never seen 5 explosives go off and like wipe out that sort of like radius of like area.
I saw somebody and like overly analyzing it and saying that they thought there was like explosive powder like all over the whole area there, like even the monument that she removes the map from, there's this sort of like weird like black crusty powder all around the sphere. Like somebody was saying that stuff might be explosive. That's the only way to really explain what you see there at the end after those thermal detonators go off, because it tracks like a few miles out from the center of that ring. So it's either incredulous or that stuff is explosive.
I feel like they just were like there's three of those things exploding at once. So it was just like one of them would have been a pretty big explosion, but since it's 3 of them, it's going to be a real big explosion now. And I think it did feel like they may have gone a little bit overboard with the effects. Like the explosion didn't need to be that crazy. I get like it gave us that like Ahsoka running from the fire, jumping into the ship moment, which was kind of cool. And like that's action and stuff. I get it, but it didn't need to be all that. I don't think.
It's like that time George Lucas made Jabba's palace door even bigger in 2011, even though it was already like pretty much the biggest door we've ever seen. He's like, you know what? It could be like 50% bigger.
I just want to make sure that the delivery guy, when I tell him to bring it to the front door, he knows which door it is. It's the really big one.
Yeah. All right. I'm looking forward to episode 3. I wish it were more than 30 minutes. Could you guys just pick a runtime for an episode?
Never.
So that I can like.
I feel like 40 minutes is the sweet spot. Give me 40 minutes.
Without credits. Credits, 40 minutes.
Traditional television hour.
Yeah. Otherwise, what are we even doing here?
Yeah, they have to have all the different language credits too. It's annoying. But
No,
I mean that one of the secret things was Sam Witwer was like hidden somewhere in the credits, correct?
What? No.
He's in there as an additional voice.
Yeah, so that gives Zenger's theory a little bit of legs. If you want, he is hidden in the credits.
He's not the they've revealed who the person is it's some, I can't remember who, but it's not like a named actor or anything or of that sort.
Didn't Andor already kind of screw this up for anybody who wants to see Starkiller show up? Because don't they have Starkiller's armor in the background of Andor.
Okay, yes, but that Star Killer's like Sith armor.
Which
So
isn't
it's still his
technically
armor, though,
Legends
right?
canon either.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not even Legends. That's how not canon that.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
it's like a Elseworld story.
I don't think they're not touching him anytime soon. I really don't.
They
think
need
it's
to.
happening.
They need to touch all
They
over. him.
should they?
He's
Yes.
game
Will they?
breaking.
Probably not.
You don't have to have him that strong.
But is he even Star Killer at that point?
Yeah.
Zenger, if he's
No,
not
he's
that
not.
strong.
Ugh.
Well, he's great because he's a video game.
He could just be
character,
Planet
and it's hard to
Killer.
work him into our real world Star Wars because we love him because it's the greatest video game. You can throw Wookiees around.
Dude, Cal Kestis is coming. Cal Kestis is coming. So
Joe made a good point. They had to. He was so strong they had to make him an entire planet.
Oh, that just reminded me of something too. Before we finish up, I just did you guys play the new Star Wars Survivor game?
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it was good.
So, do you remember the story of that game? Is a lot about.
Nope.
Aren't they creating a sort of a portal to go to a new world? Isn't that like the
Yeah.
whole?
It's not a galaxy though. It's just like it's like in Solo where like Kessel's like in the middle of like some nebula that'll really mess you up if you try and fly straight to it. It's more like that.
But it's very similar, isn't it? Like I noticed the similarities in like.
It's the same ballpark as like Chris said. Yes, it's like Kessel level, but also like Sith Wayfinder, Rise of Skywalker, Exegol level. It's like it's not outside of the galaxy. It's just very treacherous to get to it unless you have a map.
I would just be surprised if these
Yep.
stories don't somehow connect with each other. Like if we don't see Cal Kestis somehow get integrated into the story at some point, it feels like a waste of
Yeah.
doing all of this work to build the story for these video games.
You'll see Cal years before you're gonna see Galen like Star Killer. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
for
gonna
sure.
happen, Zinger.
For sure.
I want to see
And
Gale
so-
American Andor season 2. I want to see him like drag a Star Destroyer into the ground in front of Calrissian Endor's face. I want that. That's on my Star Wars bingo card.
That's how I was about to say. That's how Andor dies, but that would be really stupid. We already know how Andor dies. Literally, a planet has to be destroyed. For
Wait,
him.
wait.
Oh, right.
Wait. Is the strike still going on?
Sorry,
Can I go right
spoilers,
for these
Andor
shows?
Now's your shot, Zenger. Go for it, quick. Well, no
That's
one's
the other
looking.
thing. We didn't bring up the fact that there's this writer strike and all this going on. Like there might not be some Star Wars media for quite some time. They're already a slog to put out as it is with all this going on. Oof.
Yeah, with all these fans that don't shut up about it.
Might not be a bad thing to take a little break for a little while and everybody kind of catch their bearings and
read a
figure
book.
out some real good stories to give us. Like at least Ahsoka's done. We're going to get all of Ahsoka. Will they ever finish The Acolyte? Maybe not. Will it actually come out? Hopefully. But at least we have Ahsoka for now. And like if Ahsoka's good, that gives us something to kind of sit on. And maybe this break will give them a chance to come up with some dope stories for us.
Rob, I feel like you're coming at Secret Invasion hard here.
What do you mean? You mean it sounds like I didn't like Secret Invasion?
I mean, that depends how you answer this next question.
Did you like Secret Invasion?
Yeah, I was about to
That's
say.
a question.
It was fine. It was fine. It was okay.
You obviously need to rewatch it.
It was all right. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. So like it's lukewarm to me. I'm wishy-washy on it. Like I like Ahsoka way better. These first 2 episodes of Ahsoka much better than I like Secret Invasion, the whole show itself. So
It should
what
have
does
just
that
stayed a
say?
secret.
Yeah.
All right, I want to end every Ahsoka episode with this until it ends.
Oh God.
Not the show, but
Oh.
the HasLab Ghost Project. Chris,
Oh, God dang it.
Okay.
does
You were
this
so
show,
close.
as episodes 1 and 2, we are 25% of the way through the show. Does this increase or decrease your need, want, desire, interest in the HasLab Ghost? Yes or no?
Mildly decreased because I think Sabine is a dingus in this show. but I don't think they're getting to what's the last tier 17,000 for Zeb.
Yeah.
I don't think they're getting to that.
They reached Ezra levels and they threw in Lothcat. I saw that they reached those levels right after the premiere. Correct? They announced that.
Yeah.
They've also
but, I
said
mean,
that they get to 17,000, they will make a Sabine and Chopper carded figures. They will do that.
All
And
right.
that Ezra card back is from that mural. It is on Lothal. It is the mural picture. It is the cartoon mural picture of Ezra on the card back, which I don't even know if you want to remind people. Maybe you did.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
All
one
right,
thing.
to counter.
I love the mural. I think the mural is a work of art. I think it's
Well, go to
Sabine did a
HasLab.com.
great job on that mural. I think that it's blasphemous, the shade that
All
you're throwing
right.
on the mural right now.
All right. I'm going to counter Zach with, are we going to get live action Ghost?
It's already in the trailer, Zenger.
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Live action
sorry,
Ghost has
there.
existed since Rogue One. You
Okay,
peasant.
confirmed Ghost. There we go.
Confirmed Ghost has been since Rogue One in 2016.
Who has it? Where is it?
Dude, they're gonna do the whole. They're gonna get the whole gang back together. Like they're gonna
You
have.
think
It's
they're
gonna
going to
be
get
a,
everyone, and they're
Oh,
going
yeah,
to
they're
have
gonna-
like a... Oh, wait, are they going to have a charred body for what's his
No,
name?
the wolf. The wolf
Freddie
is going
Prinze
to be in
Jr.?
the wolf.
Yeah.
His wolf form. Him in the wolf form will be in the show. I predict that.
Freddie Wolf Jr.?
Freddie Wolf
Then
Jr.
the
's
kid will
coming,
be like,
dog.
because
I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they're gonna do something weird with the wolf. I'm sure.
Or just Trapper Wolf can just fill in for him. Like, hey,
He's like,
guys,
I'm
I'm here.
reincarnated
You know he's
as
going to put
Trapper
himself
Wolf.
in it. He exists in this world.
Okay, I guess one final question that go around the room. Concerning the way they love like propping up other shows with other characters, do we get Din Djarin in this at all?
No.
And Big Whiskey?
Yep.
No.
Maybe
Yep.
Boba.
As
Yeah,
of the
maybe
first
not-
2 episodes, solid no from me.
Sabine maybe ends up with Din at the end. I'll say that. Mando people.
All right, so that's a no across the board with the exception of Rob.
I think you're gonna. Yeah, this is Disney, guys. Who do you think you're dealing with here? They gotta cross these things up and cross promote as much as possible. They want these people to go when they finish this Ahsoka show to go back and rewatch all of Mandalorian again. So
Maybe
you're gonna
one
see Din.
scene.
You're gonna see him
Maybe
pop
one
up
scene.
somewhere as doing something, even if it's just at a bar or something.
All right, one final question. How many Lothcat plushies are we all pre-ordering as we speak?
I still hate the Lothcats, but this one looks way better than the cartoon Abomination Kill It With Fire that appeared in the Cara Dune introduction episode of Mandalorian.
That's right. I forgot about that. It did show up in there.
This one irritated my cat.
It looks better than the one from the Ahsoka episode of Mando too. Like that popped up a few times.
It's better to see an inside Lothcat, I believe, than an outside one. We see an inside one. It seems like a lo-fi video you could see of Sabine and this cat together. Like, all right, I get the vibe that's going on in her little sky tower at the end of Miracle Road on Lothal. So
practical
and I will
effects.
say, if observing a female watching it, my wife watching this, she's like, my wife loves cats. She's like, I like that cat. That cat's pretty cool. So I do think she even made the reference like, oh, is this the Baby Yoda of the show? I was like, most probably. This is the cute Disney marketing is really get Lothcat out there.
I will say that ever since my Disney Galaxy's Edge trip, my biggest regret still is not getting that Lothcat character from the or plush. I don't even call it a plushie because like if you squeezed its like legs, it would hiss at you, which I thought is still phenomenal. I still regret not buying that, Chris. That's like a year and a half later, and I still regret not buying it.
I'm going in 2 weeks, so you message me. Yeah.
Oh god, it's happening. Disneyland or Disney World?
World.
Oh my god, it's happening, everybody.
Keep out for some Ray tchotchkes, please. They're trying to go out there.
More practical effects in Star Wars too. Just while we're talking about it, I want to say I love like the Henson stuff back in the day. I think that gave Star Wars that's like a huge part of what's made Star Wars. That feeling of seeing those practical effects and the aliens and stuff. So hell yeah, more practical effects in Star Wars.
Yeah, that the derpiness of the practical Lothcat face made it a lot better than the cartoon one from
100%.
Mandalorian Chapter 4.
Oh my god. All right, anybody, any other final comments, questions, concerns over Ahsoka episodes 1 and 2?
No, I think we've covered it well. I think we
be
all
worse.
have a lot to look forward to. We're all kind of in, which I do, which I think is it's good for which series going in. We're all in, right?
Yeah, I'm on board, man. I'm ready to see where this takes us. Like I'm interested. They have me into it. So like it doesn't feel like there's gonna be filler episodes in this, at least. It doesn't feel like it yet. Until we get one of those, I'm gonna keep that attitude. But this feels concise, like the story is going somewhere, and I'm ready for it.
All right, so concludes this episode of Knights of Vader, a Star Wars podcast. Check out the Facebook group where Chris was warning me that we might get our page deleted because the word Star Wars is apparently being purged from different pages, groups.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're like a vintage Star Wars collector, you would have noticed this week you'd be getting bombarded with notifications about group names changing.
The group names
there's a
for the last
fear.
couple days. Yes.
Yeah, great fear has taken over the Facebook Star Wars collecting community about having Star Wars in their group names. It might all be about nothing, but we haven't found out yet.
And it should be noted that Knights of Vader has never had the word Star Wars in the group title. So bullet dodged, everybody.
Boom.
All right. Find us on Instagram at KOV Podcast. If you like what you hear, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes or Spotify, whatever podcasting platform you're listening to us on. The rate and review definitely help us grow our audience. Thank you to An Insperiority Complex for providing our theme song. Check out the show notes to hear more from them. For questions, comments, concerns, or snide remarks, contact me, Zack, on Twitter at Cinemoddities or Instagram at Rogue Knight. And when I am not on this podcast voicing my misguided opinions on Star Wars, Chris, when you're not buying me a Loth Cat in 2 weeks, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Chris Porteous on Instagram, and go ahead and follow Knights of Vader on Instagram, because when we don't have new episodes, that is my outlet for Star Wars memes that I don't feel socially appropriate on other Instagram pages.
Indeed. Chris will be posting his current screenshot of the voluptuous Shaak Ti statue next to his face. Zenger, when you are not weirdly angling a Star Killer action figure at the camera while we just see your forehead throughout the 2-hour recording, what's going on in your world?
Oh, ZengThis, we are rapidly approaching us finishing up the Castlevania Netflix series in preparation for the Scott Pilgrim Netflix series, because I'm excited about that.
And when you're not prepping the 5-year Crimes of Grindelwald episode, right, Zenger?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Right, Zenger?
That and 2018 Zingies. Always.
Yes, at the 2018 Zengies. I'm glad we're all on the same page about this.
Always getting pushed back another week. Both episodes.
Joe, when you are not being Joe, what are you up to? I'm running out of cute things to say, everybody. I'm mentally exhausted.
It's late. It's late. No, Wheel of Convo should be coming back hopefully soon. Corey's coming back from vacation, so we'll be getting some more episodes out there. New wheels on the horizon, so we're going to be doing an episode where we construct the new wheel. So hopefully that would be nice. So if anyone wants to contribute to it, Wheel of Convo at Facebook, put a comment in there. If we like it, we'll put it on the wheel.
All right. Rob and Russ, thank you for joining us. For both of you, whether it be Unbelievers or your own independent ventures, Russ, what is going on next?
Oh, just everyone, check out Unbelievers Podcast. We're still at it. We're doing it. We're killing it, as always. Go subscribe on YouTube. Go follow the show. What about you, Rob? You got other stuff to plug too, besides Unbelievers.
Yeah, if anybody wants to hear me talk about Star Wars stuff, I did make a podcast for a little while called Baby Yoda's Escape Pod, which I will be rebranding soon to something different and keeping that channel. But you can go back and listen to those. I think I'll probably be putting something out soon, and then trying to catch up on covering some Star Wars content on that same channel. So if you follow Baby Yoda's Escape Pod, you'll see my stuff there. And then Instagram at Rob Oakey. And that's about it. Thank you for having me on this. This was fun. I've been holding this stuff in since I watched this episode the other night. So it was nice to just get it out.
Yeah, talking to Rob last night, we recorded a new Unbelievers, and we just wanting to talk about Ahsoka. I was like, please, I'm going on Knights of Vader. Come on, you got to come on. Like, this would be great.
Yeah, so I appreciate you guys having me to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Like, it's been a little while, but I'm back. I'm loving it. I'm excited we got a whole show, and we're not getting anything for a while. So, yes, thank you for having me back, guys.
Alrighty, guys. Good night, but not goodbye. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Remember Alderaan! Down with the Empire!